Hello everyone, I'm Brian Reynolds, the chancellor with the Archdiocese of Louisville, and welcome to our podcast series, What's New in ArchLou. This show highlights the people and ministries of the Archdiocese of Louisville, the Catholic Church in Central Kentucky. Join us each month as we welcome new guests to learn what's new in the Archdiocese as we invite you to get more involved and deepen your engagement with your Catholic faith. This program is brought to you by the ArchLou Podcast Network. Well, here we are. We made it to September. Hard to believe. And September, late August, moving to September, brings many new starts. The most significant one for lots of people is the opening of the new school year. The state fair fits in the middle of there too. But the new school year brings great joys and great challenges, but always comments. So anyway, we're going to talk about schools today, and we have two great guests. Doris Swenson is the principal of Holy Spirit School, and Neil Hulsewede is the principal of St. Rita's School. These are two of our veteran principals. Not that you're old, you're just veterans, okay? You've been here a while. Neil began teaching at St. Raphael's in 2008 and became principal of St. Rita in 2013. Neil and his wife Gina are St. Rita's parishioners, and they have two daughters who are graduates of St. Rita and are now attending Mercy Academy. Now, Doris began her teaching in 1983, and she's been a teacher and a principal at several schools in the Archdiocese, in addition to serving for a brief period of time in the superintendent's office of the Archdiocese. She began her current role as principal of Holy Spirit in 2005. Doris and her husband Tim are members of St. Raphael, and they have two children, Nathan and Sarah. So welcome, first of all, Doris and Neil. Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Very good. I know it's really busy this time of year, so we snuck you out of the building. Don't go back. Stay away for the whole day, huh? Okay. Let's talk first about you, and then we'll talk about the important work that you do. So Doris, how about beyond what I said? Tell us a little more about yourself.
Well, I am a product of Catholic education from the time I was little bitty kindergarten and all the way through college as well. So a product of Catholic education, it certainly means a lot to me. I am a grandmother of two, which is amazing. And some of those things that I like to do after school hours, I am a huge crafter. I love to sew, paper products, getting into craft fairs, love it. That's what I like to do in my spare time. But I'm also a huge fan of collegiate volleyball and the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark.
Oh, my goodness. Very good. Now, you a native of Louisville? Or
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, born and raised.
Even though you like Indiana volleyball.
Well, it's really about Caitlin Clark. I'm a
okay.
huge fan of hers. She won me over in her collegiate years at Iowa, and love collegiate volleyball. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just great fun to watch.
That's terrific. Neil, how about you? Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And like Doris, product of the Catholic school system growing up here in Louisville. Grew up in Broadfield, so attended Our Lady of Lourdes in the great decade of the 1980s. So then I graduated from Trinity in 1993. And, didn't really go the conventional college route. I was kind of in and out in my early 20s, working a lot during the day, and I was involved in a lot of music projects, played a lot of gigs around town, made supplemental income that way in my 20s, and eventually got a music business degree at Indiana University Southeast.
Really?
Yeah, so really education was not really in my foresight there in my 20s. And then I did end up eventually deciding to go into education, and I got a master's at Spalding, and then started teaching at St. Raphael, like you said. And so it seems like St. Raphael's like a central theme today.
It looks like
you're a parishioner there.
There you go.
Now I'm sorry to distract you. I want to know about this music. What instrument do you play?
Oh, so I play guitar, and I used to dabble a little bit with pedal steel guitar, kind of in the country music vein of things. But I played all sorts of genres of music in my 20s. Dabbled into a little bit of jazz and kind of experimental rock.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we got a garage band junkie here. This is good. All right. Thanks, both of you. Yeah. Crafting and bands. This is all sorts of new information for me. This is terrific. I know both of you is...
We don't just, live school.
Okay,
and
good.
Right. We don't sleep under our desks in the office.
That's right.
Right. That's terrific. Well, let's talk a little bit about your two schools because they're really important ministries in this Archdiocese. Doris, Holy Spirit has been a thriving pre-K through 8th grade program for many years. And twice during your time, it got the National Blue Ribbon, which is a significant accomplishment. Could you tell us a little bit more about the school community at Holy Spirit?
Well, I love that you say the word community because I think that's really how we view ourselves. We embrace that size that we are. Being located in St. Matthews, we are surrounded by schools with much larger populations. But because the size that we are, it really allows us to get to know those kids on so many different levels, from learning styles and personal interests, likes, dislikes, but using that to then help engage those students. And when we began our pre-K program, which has now been, 8 years or so, and how that has grown has just been amazing. And we've really looked at it from the standpoint of how do we make sure that we're pulling our pre-K in as really being additional part of our school, not as separate entities. So we do a lot of activities together. They partake in all the different events that the school has and related arts classes. All of that really encompasses all the way pre-K through grade 8. Wow. And really taking an opportunity to help those students learn those personal responsibility skills. That's part of what sits in our mission statement. Pulling in those social emotional, our binder systems that we use, really helping those students develop those personal responsibility and independent skills that they're going to need as they move into the high school years.
You're right. There's a number of schools around the area you are, and you're St. Matthews there and Lexington Road. How big is your population?
So with our pre-K included, we're at 476.
Wow, good. That's good. That's not small.
It's not, but it's also not as large as some of the other
Yes.
schools, but really it's our size that I think that makes us so unique in that area that still allows us to offer lots of resources for students, but also, again, small enough I get to know every student by name as well as the rest of the staff.
Terrific. Very good. Okay, Neil, your turn now. St. Rita is known for many things. It's long-serving. Its presence there right on Preston there and a well-known campus, well-known from the largest summer picnics and many other things.
Yeah, we were just there not too long ago.
Yeah. Now, St. Rita's in particular, the last few years has been very significant at reaching out to Hispanic families in our community as the neighborhood around St. Rita's changed, but also particular initiatives you took to make the community welcome and inclusive of them. Tell us about St. Rita's, but also that Hispanic flavor.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question. St. Rita's in Okolona, right? Like you said, right there off Preston Highway. First I want to say, like Doris, well, not like Doris, but we're a singleton school, so we have one class per grade. But we do have a large pre-K. That's kind of our feeder into our elementary. Kind of keeps us at an average of 25 kids, per class when we get to the elementary. But we got about 50 kids in pre-K. But anyway, we did a lot of outreach to the Hispanic population. When I started there over a decade ago, I think one in every nine students were Hispanic at the time, and today we're 60% Hispanic population at the school.
That is a big shift.
Yeah, and so we did do an outreach program. There's always been a huge Hispanic presence in the Church of St. Rita. I think that began in the mid to late 90s. And so, when I started there, we didn't see as many Hispanic kids in the school, and enrollment was dropping there at the time. And so, we decided let's just walk across the parking lot into the church on the weekends and speak to the Hispanic congregation and invite them into the school. And I want to thank right now our great partners, the Catholic Education Foundation, for being instrumental, and also the diocese really helped support our efforts as well. And being that financial arm for our families that can't, totally afford the full tuition, but our Catholic education partners foundation partners were able to step in and communicate how they could help with tuition, and just opening our doors and welcoming them, and thinking about over the years how to shift our way, our approaches, our traditional ways we would run a Catholic school, and knowing that we have to also assimilate to what the needs are of the diversity of our population now, and that's our school mission now. It really is celebrating God's diversity.
That's terrific. We have 40 elementary schools serving the Archdiocese, and you two are good examples of they're not all the same. They each have a unique location, population, and focus of the mission.
Yes.
And you both speak with some pride about your schools, which is terrific, because you're the principals, but you're also the first cheerleader for the school, which is great. Yeah. Tell me, let's go talk about being a principal. Now, some of you, I think both of you probably have heard me say, we've got roughly 3,500 employees working somewhere in the Archdiocese, and the toughest job in the Archdiocese is an elementary school principal. And I say that recognizing all my colleagues who do many important works, but you've got many things from caregiving to really young kids to dealing with young adolescents, their parents all those years, the faculty, the parishioners, your parish staff. There's many people you deal with, but you've got to be parent and educator and counselor and curriculum director and language speaker, I guess, too. I don't know if you speak Spanish. But anyway, so tell me, what is the job of an elementary school principal?
It is large. When you think about what could happen on a regular day, it's probably nothing that you planned to do. Okay. You're first and foremost going to always have to be that role model for parents, students, and staff. From a spiritual perspective, a supervision perspective, but it goes so much deeper than that. You have to be ready to give yourself to the kids and to your staff every day. The number of decisions that you're going to make in a day, I'm not even sure we could tally them up. But your nurse, it's just, you're there. You're the face of the school.
Sure.
And I think it's really important that as that educational leader, you have some vision for what your school is going to be and how you're going to talk to those students, embrace them, welcome them in, and guide them. And I think it's the guidance that they really look to the most, and really sharing that love with your teachers and helping them have that same love for their kids.
Very good. Neil, how about you? Any other little images? What's the role of the Catholic school principal?
Yeah, I think Doris hit upon a lot of what, principals, the job of a principal, just to piggyback on the vision part. I think for me, if I could just sum it up in a sentence, it would be a principal's number one job is to identify and then advocate for and to your point, each community is unique. So how do we advocate, how do we identify what the biggest challenges of that community is, that school community, and then how do we best advocate for that to make change for better? And that takes a lot of time to think about how do I effectively communicate, how do I work with people. I constantly think about I'm surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me, constantly asking questions and getting stakeholders involved with being involved in how we, strategically plan for a better vision for our community. So that's a little more big picture, but, kind of again to what Doris says, you never know, every day is a new day. It's a fun job. We'll say that.
It's a fun job.
It's a fun job because of that. Every day is different.
Okay.
I ran titles. When I was talking earlier, I used to run titles on property. Okay. I don't know if you basically go in, you get an address, and you go through all sorts of books and try to look for liens, and then you get a new address and you do it all over again. And you're constantly looking at the clock. When's this day going to end? Well, being a principal, you're never looking at a clock. The day goes like that.
But both of you said somewhere in your responses, no 2 days are the same.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's probably true. And all the different duties you both described, why would you want to do that job?
Well, there's nothing better than seeing a smile on a child's face when they grasp something, they get that aha moment. That in itself is just so amazing and rewarding. So it's really about the kids, that opportunity to realize that you have such an impact on the development of our future leaders.
Yeah.
And that's really where it is, those kids. That's why you do it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anything, yeah.
No, she's right. That's exactly right.
You know, the teachers are often a launching pad for principalships.
Mm-hmm.
If and I'm sure you've had folks who you were mentored by, perhaps, and there's probably folks that you've mentored towards that role. What do you say to a teacher who said, "I think I'd like to do your job someday"? What do you say to them? Either
You
one.
want to go first?
Yeah.
Sure. I think it would be, again, your heart's got to be in the right place.
Okay.
You have to have incredible patience. You have to, again, some of the things is you have to think about leaving your ego at the door.
Very good.
Yeah.
You have to go from being a hiring person and a budget person to an educator to a catechist to a fundraiser to all these other
Right.
things here.
A lot of hats.
Can you make that attractive enough to a future principal?
I think that those individuals who have that as an aspiration
Yeah.
are so willing to grab those pieces.
Okay.
I am fortunate there are 2 other principals in the Archdiocese who once taught for me at Holy Spirit, which I think is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But I think they really knew who they were as educators themselves, and again, found that love for the student. But really knowing who you are as an educator before you step into that role as principal, I think is really critical. And then, gosh, we get the opportunity when somebody says, yeah, I think I would like to be in your shoes one day. It's great. Let's help you take on some of those leadership responsibilities that you're going to have in this role, or at least have to deal with some things that are similar to it. So it gives us a great opportunity to help mentor them before they ever step behind that desk as principal.
I'm probably biased in this answer, but that I would share with you that I love the fact that both of you came up through our system. You weren't born a principal.
Right.
You were born a student and a learner, and grew up into the system with very different paths, and that's terrific. Let's think now about our school communities and talk about our families. You know, we're in the business of education, many different things there. What do you think? This goes through the mind of a parent who's just thinking about, I wonder whether I should enroll my child in a Catholic school. That's a financial commitment. It's a time commitment. It's a lifestyle commitment. Can you talk a little bit about that, Neil? Can you help us with that?
Yeah, I think parents, are really looking for, whether they're Catholic or not Catholic, because a good portion of our population are not Catholic. So I think regardless of religious affiliation, I think community is a huge part of why parents are looking at the Catholic school system. I think we offer a great community. All 30-something schools within our diocese and their parishes offer really good communities, and I think that is known throughout Louisville. I think it's the values and the virtues that we instill in our students. That's something that St. Rita has been doing for almost 10 years now, and we have a virtue program. We make sure that our students have a monthly virtue that they're practicing, learning in the classroom. We have prayer circles after Mass each Thursday. These are like virtues as diligence and respect, charity. How do we love thy neighbor? And so we teach the saints and those saints that model those virtues. And we also tell our 8th graders, go and live virtuously. We tell them, I say this, I think, every year at my graduation speech, in that the virtues that they learn at St. Rita over the years will take them further in life than any math or science or English language arts we could teach.
Very good.
Yeah.
Doris, can you add to that?
Yeah, just as Neil said, they're looking for that community. I think they're looking for the community not only for their child, but also for them themselves. And it is those values that we place within our school that they hold dear, whether they are Catholic or non-Catholic. But I also feel that even those who are non-Catholic who are coming in are also looking for at least that spiritual growth that their children are going to receive, that they also then become benefit from it.
Sure.
But I think they're looking at it for both their child, strongly education and community, but also community for themselves.
Yes.
Let's go a little bit deeper with that. Why Catholic education?
Well, I think that within the Archdiocese of Louisville, we have certainly demonstrated that our schools provide excellence in so many different ways, whether it's education, faith formation, moral development, and I think that in itself is really something that families are seeking for themselves and their children.
Okay, very good.
I would also add, too, similar to what we're talking about, I do think families, they have, and they could be right, there's a perception that the Catholic schools, their child is safer in a Catholic school because we hold students to a higher standard.
Okay.
So the behavior in our schools is to a higher standard, which creates a safer environment.
Okay. Now, I'm dating myself when I say this question. I still remember cleaning chalkboards and clapping erasers. And you kind of wanted to because you got to go outside and clap erasers unless you clapped them on the side of the wall, in which case then you had to clean them. Okay, we've come a long way since Brian Reynolds was trying to clap erasers and cleaning chalkboards. Our schools now have smart boards and iPads. A lot has changed in the last decades. I'll just leave it there, decades. But how have your schools adapted or adopted a new approach to education? Because education is now technology-based, besides relationship-based. I know it's not just technology, but it's both, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you adapt to all that? That's a lot to try to take on.
Yeah, you mentioned iPads and smart boards, and we're now laptops and interactive flat panels. So
I'm in trouble already. All right, go ahead.
It's just that it does quickly evolve, and I think the hardest thing, but the most important thing, is helping the teachers and the students understand those are just tools. They're not to replace the education that is coming from the teacher. They are a tool to help make that product more efficient, gathering more information. Yes, it's going to be lots faster to do that Google search than to pull out the encyclopedia, plus you've got more, it's up to date, it's current. But it's really about using that technology as a tool. It doesn't replace the teaching.
That's an important. You may have heard this silly story going out on the social media the last month or so, where a teacher asked a child, "Why do you have that cell phone?" He says, "Why do you need to be a teacher? Everything I need is on this cell phone." And you're saying not that the technology is a tool, but the education is different. Mm-hmm. Neil, can you add to that?
Yeah, well, that child that said that, I mean, the kids we serve today are natives with technology.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's not like we have to do a lot of training the kids on technology. They train probably better the adults on that technology.
Yes.
But I agree with Doris. It is a tool, and again, I think not to cut down on technology, we certainly have it at St. Rita, and it is a tool that makes learning a little more efficient than probably before technology, but it is not our key focus. Again, it goes back to what is the need of your community. Again, when I was a teacher at St. Raphael, I was huge in educational technology. In fact, I was helping out with stakeholder groups there, with iPads, when those were rolling out, when they were just coming out, and how they could be utilized in schools. And I think when I started at St. Rita, I was thinking about, all right, technology, how do we really make this school a technological school? And then I certainly learned, wait a minute, these two communities are different. Yeah. And technology wasn't what St. Rita needed. Not to say we were absent again with technology, but again, addressing enrollment, looking at the demographics of the community, and right now, our focus is more on English language learning because 60% of our kids are Hispanic.
Yeah, very good. When I read and discuss Catholic education locally and beyond, there seems to be three themes that continually come out as the biggest challenges facing Catholic education today, particularly at the elementary level, but also the high school and beyond, I suppose. One is, how do you faithfully live out Catholic identity? One is, how do you deal with the economic balances of keeping it, getting the funds to give all the resources we can, but also not so pricing ourselves out of the market that nobody can afford to come. And so it's Catholic identity, it's economics. The third one is enrollment, filling the seats without packing as many people as you can in there, so that hurts the teaching learning, but also have enough students to make it work. So enrollment, Catholic identity, economics. Are those accurate? Can you comment on those? Or, okay.
Those are accurate.
Okay, tell me about that. One of you jump in.
Yes, as we think about all three of those components, one of the first things is with our Catholic identity. Again, being a product of Catholic education, growing up with so many strong traditions, I feel like that's really important. Our students, when they graduate, they will come back and they will still share, oh, I remember that May procession, or I remember that prayer service that we had. And they do find that it was very valuable to them. And when parents come back and say, I'm looking for that for my child because it was so important to me in my faith and my growth and development. So holding to some of those stronger traditions of our Catholic faith, but also helping those students discern for themselves, how am I Catholic and how am I demonstrating that? And that's really evident as we're doing things with confirmation preparation and helping those students do some of that reflection for themselves. As we look at the economics, again, thanks to CEF, more than ever, students are able to have a Catholic education. Within our own parishes, I know that we also do tuition assistance, but it's the other little things too that you can do, whether they're participating in Blessings in a Backpack, developing some of their own service and identity, and realizing what else is in the world that they need. So fortunately, we've got an extremely active PTO that really helps extend out into our community for partnerships and that type of thing. And then as far as that enrollment, I'm really fortunate that we've been able to hire a director of advancement. She can handle those tours where as the seat of the principal, you can't do all of that. Yeah. So I've been really fortunate in that regard, and she has really helped us make sure that we are a real cohesive group between parish and school.
Very good. Yeah. Neil?
Yeah, with the economic balance, some of the things that Doris said, again, the Catholic Education Foundation has really provided for our families, but beyond that, as a principal, it's really how do we seek other revenue streams, opportunities, grants that exist out there. Being a large pre-K and giving our demographic, there's a lot of early childhood grants that we've been receiving over the last few years, and that really helps with us strategically think about how do we invest back into the school. So we've had the opportunity over the last few years to start, looking at facilities and trying to enhance facilities that we couldn't otherwise do without these grants and other revenue streams. So we just opened up in a school endowment for the first time at St. Rita, and that was a huge accomplishment for us because, again, it's all about, we need to make sure that we're investing in the future. We serve the students now, but how do we continue to invest in this school for the future?
Very good. You have a past, you have a present, the future. In the past, did students come back and talk to you?
Yes, it's amazing. The 8th graders are always so excited to graduate, and their first day out, they come back to school to visit us. I had an opportunity. Actually, I just hired an individual who's a former Holy Spirit student. That's really exciting. Yeah. One that's really dear to my heart is I got an email from a former student last school year, really kind of thanking me about the number of times he spent in my office and how that has helped him now as an adult and made it through college. is studying to become a pilot, and asked, could I come have lunch with you?
Wow.
Which was really,
That's terrific.
yeah, close to my heart.
Maybe that'll answer the last question I have for you, which is, okay, we talked about challenges, the mission, the good work you're doing, but what's the biggest joy? And you kind of hinted there, I think, but what's the biggest joy you experience as a principal?
You want to go first?
Sure. I think, really working with great people, that's one thing. We have a solid staff. In the 11 years I've been a principal, I've been fortunate to serve under two great pastors, Father Joe Rankin and now Father Mike Tobin. They have supported me, and they give me the autonomy to run the school, and it's just the people that the people of community, and then I think again it's the diversity of our school that gives me the most joy, to just work with that diversity.
What makes you happy?
It's seeing those students. It could be the random hug as you're walking down the hallway, to the smile that you get, to the student who comes back years later. I tell teachers, you never really understand the impact you're having on those children's lives until they're much older, and they're able to then articulate that, and that's what really gives us joy.
Yeah. I get to see a lot of them at the summer picnic every year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, you are great examples of some of the best in our archdiocese. We're very proud of you, but we're more grateful. I'm going to tell you a little story that we wrap up here. I talked to both your pastors, and they both used almost the exact same sentence. Father Chandler says, well, I have the best principal in the archdiocese. And Father Tobin says, well, I have the best principal in the archdiocese. There's a script out there somewhere they're sharing, I guess.
That's right.
But so they're proud of you. I know your students and faculties and parents appreciate you. But on behalf of the whole Archdiocese, thank you for what you do every day. It's not an easy job. Your commitment is obvious. Your pride is well-deserved. And thank you for being here on What's New in ArchLou. And thank you to our viewers and listeners for joining us this month. Tune in again next month for the next show we'll have for you.